Ira,
up, man?
how you doing, man? How's your Labor
Good.
Day?
What's up?
Happy Labor Day.
Good. You too. Happy Labor Day. Yeah. What a perfect day, man.
Oh,
Wonderful.
yes. And we're right away here, right away. We're getting closer to
All right.
football season, man.
I know it's amazing. I can't believe it's a week away. It's crazy, right?
First off, can you believe that the Jets didn't lose a preseason game?
No, I know it's been quite a while. I remember Brown and Nagel that did that, but I heard I think it was either 2001 or 2002 they went undefeated also.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was I don't know, you take it with a grain of salt, but it was good. Good to win games.
Hmm. Were you in Green Bay for the Packer game? Because I believe that when we talked last, you were trying to get out there.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Got out there. First time I actually did anything since everything, got crazy. But a little nervous, but it felt good to be there. And anytime they go to Lambeau, I really try to get out there because they don't get out there too often.
No.
So I know they're playing there in the regular season next year, but I just wanted to get out there. I thought it was a good way to kickstart the road trips.
Hmm. Zach Wilson went 9 for 11 in that game. Very impressive. 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, he's looked good all summer. And it's funny. When I went to camp all 3 weeks, and the first week, I said, "Uh oh," it looked like he was having his ups and downs. But after I kind of reassessed everything in my own mind, and I saw him progress, week by week, and then into the preseason, I think he just struggled early on because probably with all the installation of the playbook and probably kind of set him back a little. But he became much more consistent after that first week of practice.
Hmm. And something I have noticed when he's in these games, especially in preseason, that he looks more comfortable than Darnold ever did, and he looks like a real leader for this offense.
Oh, there's not even a question about it. I mean, listen, we'll see what's going to happen starting with Carolina. Once the real games start, and they start game planning. But he just doesn't seem to get rattled. His footwork is good, his mechanics are good, and I just don't think the game is too big for him. And you and I discussed this going into the draft.
Mhm.
Listen, I've been around a long time. I'm very fortunate. I watch a lot of football, and sometimes you don't have to be a scout to recognize talent. And it just from the first time I watched him play at BYU, I just felt he had the it factor.
Mhm.
And how that's going to progress and translate into his career, I don't know. But I just think he has that it factor where I think the ceiling is, I don't think there's any limit. I think he could go as high, he could be a top five quarterback with no problem.
I think so. I think he's going to be leading into that way. With Zach Wilson was very impressive in preseason. As you know, you probably saw what Darnold did in his last preseason game for Carolina, and the media was going nuts over it because he did throw for 2 touchdowns. Still, even watching those highlights, Sam Darnold still looks like the same Sam to me. There's nothing that exciting to me. He's still very slow when in play game motion.
Yep, that's exactly right. And you know what? That might as well be who he is.
Yeah.
And that's okay because you know what? If he's an average or a little above average quarterback at best, and that's what I've been saying,
Hmm.
he could have a nice career in the NFL. But he's never going to be a top five, top 10 quarterback that's going to carry a team and get them over the hurdle to get to a Super Bowl.
No.
I just don't see it.
No, I don't either. And I actually have my interview with Alan Hahn releasing tonight. We did the interview last week, and he brought up to me he believed that Zach Wilson's been getting way more hype than Sam Darnold did. I don't agree
Oh,
with that.
I'm losing you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little better. Yeah, I
Okay.
lost you for a second.
Yeah, so I'll repeat what I said so you get everything. I had an interview with Alan Hahn last week that's actually releasing tonight on my show, and he tried to explain to me how he believes that Zach Wilson has gotten more hype than Sam Darnold. To me, when Sam Darnold came here, he's just been coddled by the media, and people were all on the train for the suck for Sam thing. I feel as though that Sam Darnold was more hyped up to go to the Jets than Zach Wilson. I get that Zach Wilson had a little buzz the last month, but Sam Darnold was, since his Rose Bowl game, people have been predicting him to go to the Jets and be this great quarterback, which he didn't live up to being the number third pick in the draft class that he came out of.
Well, I'm losing you again, Max.
Oh, hold on. Can you hear me? How about now?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Now you can hear me. Okay. How much did you catch from what I talked about?
No, I understand what you're saying about Han and what you were saying about Donald and the hype machine. But the hype machine has definitely picked up a little more now with Zach
Hmm.
because guys like Romo and Chris Sims, and I'm probably leaving a few out, that they've said, that the ceiling is, there's no limit on where this kid could be. Um, and then, the fans are starting to buy into it. I mean, look, realistically, how many people really watch BYU football games? So, and, with Jet fans, you had Sanchez, then you had Donald,
Hmm.
once again, let's see what this kid could be. But I just think this guy is going to be the real deal. I think they finally landed on the guy. I really do. And Donald coming out of college, I mean, let's face it. His senior year, I get it. Maybe they shuffled up the offensive line a little, but he was a turnover machine in college,
He
and
was.
that's something Zach Wilson wasn't. And let's hopefully that translates to the NFL.
As far as we've seen right now, it really hasn't. And he hasn't been a turnover machine at all, Zach Wilson. But Sam Darnold, you brought up great points there. If you remember the fumbles and the interceptions, everyone just kind of turned a blind eye to it and looked at him as this franchise quarterback, and he never became that. And that's why he's in Carolina. And I really do hope that Zach Wilson goes out there and wins this game. It just quiets the media down, because I feel as though if Sam Darnold and the Panthers win this game, you know what they're going to be saying week one. And I think we talked about this last time, the callers calling into all the stations and even just the experts on the NFL analyst panels saying that, oh, they should have just kept Sam. Why they made a mistake by drafting Zach. Told you they should have kept Sam.
Oh, I could hear that. I could hear that this coming Monday, a
Yeah.
week from today. Let's. I mean, I'm not talking as a Jet fan. I'm just trying to talk as a somewhat semi-educated football fan.
Mhm.
And when you look at the matchups, I mean, you got to give Carolina the edge.
You
I
do.
mean, and it's not because of the offense, because I think the Jets will be able to put points on the board.
Hmm.
It's just you have Robbie Anderson, you have DJ Moore, you got Christian McCaffrey, and you have Dan Arnold,
Hmm.
and all these guys are playmakers. The Jets don't have answers for them right now, unless
No.
Saleh come up with some, one of these Rex Ryan type of game plans. But you just got to keep in mind you're starting two outside linebackers who are converted linebackers that were safeties in college.
Hmm.
They've never played in the NFL. You're going to have a rookie corner on one side of Hall, and Hall basically still is kind of learning. I like Isaiah Dunn a lot. I like Eccles a lot, but it is their first game. And I just think if Donald doesn't, I don't know, if he just doesn't start making mistakes, if he just manages the game, I think it's going to be tough for the Jets to stop them. They just have too many weapons for the Jets to handle.
Hmm. You got that right. The defense took a major hit, especially with Carl Lawson getting injured, then Vinny Curry being out for the year. This team's taken some major hits on the injury side of the ball, but they did acquire Shaq Lawson from the Texans. How are you feeling about that pickup?
I think it's a nice pickup. I
Mm.
think he'll give you 4 to 6 sacks. Probably play the run pretty decent, but it's still a drop off from Carl Lawson.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they did. They got somebody in there. And what's funny? Everybody, of course, we're all focused, including myself, on Zach Wilson, and I think the receiving core is a stellar group that they have. I think Elijah Moore is going to shine.
Hmm.
But it's funny. This week, I started shifting gears over to the defense, and I'm so curious to see, whether it's Dunn, whether it's Eccles, whether it's Tanakh, any of these young, corners that Douglas brought in here. I want to see how Salah develops and to see if one or two of these guys actually show progress. And I think they will, because in camp they were around the ball a lot. Are they got to, Salah's not going to have to probably blitz because they're not going to get much pressure from the front four. So instead of dropping 7, he's going to have to drop 6, maybe drop 5, and you're going to leave these corners on an island, and I want to see really what Salah does, because it's going to change his philosophy. And I think they will make plays, but I think there's going to be times where they're going to get burnt.
Yeah.
And
100%.
we're just going to. You know what? Whether it's this game or it's week 17, it's going to be Zach Wilson can make plays, and they're going to be able to throw the ball. But the offense is going to have to come for the defense. And the only way you know it as well as I do is control the clock and establish a run. And if you could do that and somehow have the ball 35 minutes, rush the ball about 35 times, they're going to be in games and they're going to have a chance to win games. If games get a little out of control early on, the only fear I have is that they're going to let Wilson drop back 40 times to throw passes, and I think that's not a healthy situation for him. And I thought the coaching staff has done a really good job with him, bringing him along so far. Are they going to deviate if they start falling behind games early and throw out their game plan and start having them sling the ball all over the field? I hope not.
No. And they did that with Sanchez, remember? He wasn't that type of quarterback. They had him throw balls all over the field, and he wasn't that type.
Well, that's what happened in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
09 and 010, they kind of kept him reeled in. He threw when he had to, and his playoff run in 010 was outstanding. But, in 011, when they decided, okay, we got to air it out to get over the hurdle, he just wasn't able to handle it.
No.
I think Wilson could handle it physically, mentally, and statistically. The thing I'm concerned is him taking any big hits.
Mm.
And, I just don't want this guy getting bounced around because I just, you look at it, and I'm happy they picked him. I'm not second guessing myself.
No.
I just wish he had the thickness of a Justin Fields, body wise.
Mm-hmm.
He's built like Joe Montana. And I'm afraid if this guy starts taking too many hits, he's going to start getting hurt. So, let's hope that's not going to be the situation.
Yeah, let's hope. And I'm sure that we saw, because we were talking about the receiving corps before, you heard the news of Jamison Crowder testing positive for COVID-19, and the team has said that he may play Sunday.
Yes, I heard that. Let's, hopefully he recovers, quickly, and let's hope nobody else in the locker room between now and Sunday, all of a sudden tests positive. You know what? It would be a loss, but honestly, it's not a killer because of the depth.
No.
Because I think nobody talks about Berrios. I watch him every day in practice, and this kid's a player, man. He's very much Wayne Corbett-like, a similar type of player. And, punt returns is good, but he's really improved, as a slot receiver. So if, God forbid, Crowder's not, healthy, you still got Elijah Moore and you got Berrios and you got Cole, and all of a sudden maybe Mims could produce something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like Jet receiving corps in the past. They lose one guy and then they have nobody to throw the ball to. So, I think they're in good shape with Crowder or without Crowder.
Yeah. I think so. But Braxton Berrios, if you remember the play that he made, I believe it's when Darnold was coming off that route where he was getting chased down, and he had that nice slant pass to him. If you recall that play last year, that Braxton Berrios ran it in for the touchdown.
Yes. Was that against the Browns? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure who their opponent was, but I remember the play because I was impressed.
Well, if you also go back to the first year with Gase, when they blew out the Raiders, Berrios took a 10-yard slant and he went 70, 80 yards.
That's right.
So, and that was 2 years ago before he's improved his game to where he's at right now. So, I think they're in good shape. And my biggest concern, like everybody else, is how is this defense going to hold up against teams?
Mm-hmm. And you speak about the defense with the cornerbacks of them cutting Bless Austin, which was a major surprise for Jet fans. Even the players on the team were surprised because they were saying that he was the guy for the Jets.
Well, it's a funny thing. I didn't see it in camp. And that's probably what, I don't know if it was his attitude or physically or whatever, but I didn't see where he was much better than any of the names we mentioned.
No.
And, I think there was a little bit of an attitude problem, and I think they moved on from him. I think it's as simple as that. And I'm telling you, a guy, as much as I like Echols, this Isaiah Dunn, I think they might have found a diamond in the rough. I think this undrafted kid is going to come in here, and I think people are going to be talking about him come the second half of the season.
Wow. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to do here. There's got to be something that pans out from all these picks that they made late in the draft. But another question mark is the running back position. And I've been watching Jet fans talk back and forth on Twitter about the starting running back. Is it going to be Tevin Coleman? Is it going to be Michael Carter? Who's really going to be the true starting running back for this team?
I don't think they're going to have one.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the hot hand. I think it's going to be running back by committee, very much like San Francisco did. And, to be honest with you, and as much as I like Tevin Coleman, I think Michael Carter's got a really good future. They actually just re-signed Josh Adams to the active roster because I think P. Ryan's hurt. But I think Ty Johnson's the most talented running back on the team.
We saw what he did last year. He was running the ball like crazy during those rough times with Adam Gase as the coach for us.
That's right. And if it wasn't for Frank Gore, Ty Johnson probably would have had a much statistically better year than he had. I mean, he did have that 100-yard game against the Raiders, and I think he's capable of doing that. But like I said earlier, I just think it's going to be opponent specific, and they're going to just feed these guys, and whoever's got a hot hand in the game, they're going to ride.
Mm-hmm. Do you sense that there's a different feeling in this building now? I mean, it's obvious if you get Gase out of any building, there's a different feeling. But just with the energy that they had in these preseason games, especially ending the game with the Jets that they had against the Eagles in preseason with that Hail Mary, I just sense that there's just a different feeling that Saleh has brought to this team as well as the coaching staff. There's just a different energy. It doesn't feel like the same old Jets to me. But I don't want to say it's not the same old Jets, because if I do say that, then eventually, who knows, we could go back to the losing culture that we know our franchise to be.
No, it's not going to be the same old Jets because, I sense a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not show in the win and loss in the win column this year because it's such, they may be starting 8 or 9 rookies. So you may not see it in the win column, but I just think they're going to play hard. I think they're going to be competitive. And I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. And you know what? Douglas couldn't fix both sides of the ball in 1 year.
No.
And except for the tight end spot, I think he's filled in offensively. I think they're set. And then next year with the draft and with free agency, he'll fill in the defense. And I think 2 years from now, we're talking about a team that's going to be really, they're going to be in the mix for the playoff discussion.
I agree with you on that. I think that in Croft too, I know you're not a big fan of his bringing him in. You weren't a big fan of that because we know who he wanted, but he ended up in New England, and we have to face him now twice a year.
I know. Hunter Henry is just unfortunate, but you know what, Croft, he's Carl Brady like, I don't know. Anthony Beck, like, he'll probably catch 35 passes and 4 touchdowns, But for this offense to really, roll the way I think LaFleur envisions it, they really need a tight end that's going to be, what's the name of the guy in San Francisco?
George Kittle.
They need somebody like that. And it's probably going to come in next year's draft or free agency.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I think they'll do the best what they can this year. And like I said, I could see this offense definitely putting up, close to 24 points a game. It's just defensively, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not sure how they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. It can be like that year for the Giants, if you recall, when they were putting up 30 points a game. I think it was Odell's breakout season, and they were scoring all these points, and the defense just gave it up every game at the end.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what happens. But you know what? As long as the young players
develop,
make progress and the quarterback continues to get better week by week, I'm good with that. I expect to see a lot of 34-27, 31-23, 30-27, those type of games. I think the days of, 17-13, 21-17 is just not happening with this defense.
No. I don't see it to be that way either. And it's going to be an interesting season. And I think by next year, I think you're right with what Douglas does in the draft and free agency next year. I think he's really going to straighten this defense up. And I think it's blatantly obvious, the corner position. It really is blatantly obvious that we need some corners in here.
Well, once again, the philosophy of that I'm guessing Douglas is using, however he allocates his money towards positions. I just don't think he's a big believer in spending in the back end, in
No.
the corners and safeties. And evident with Marcus May, they didn't want to pay him. And chances are Marcus May. I mean, if the Jets get off to a really bad start, let's say they're like 1-6 or 2-7 by the trade deadline. I think if the right deal comes across, I think May will get traded
Yeah.
because I don't see him paying $15 million for safety next year.
No.
And it's just. You just hope that a couple of these young, they just signed a safety from the Browns, this guy Redwine. I think he has a couple of years. I like LaMarcus Joyner a lot. So we'll see where they're at. But the secondary to me is going to be the most fascinating because I have my expectations and I think I know what the offense Wilson's going to give me. But the defense, I'm going to hold my breath and just watch and see what Saleh could do with this group that he has.
I think he'll be able to pull something out because if you think about it, all the injuries that the Niners faced last year, and they were still a top defense in the league.
That's true, but once again, you can't. If you got to get to the quarterback because if you can't get to the quarterback, the corners are going to get exposed. It's really that simple, I mean, look, that third string quarterback for the Packers. He went up and down the field against our first team defense.
He did.
So, now we're talking about the big boys, first teamers, and regular season and game plan. So, but like I said, I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be fun to watch. And I think they're going to play hard from all 60 minutes. And we'll see where they're at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to give you a win total, before Lawson got hurt, I had them at 6-7 at most. So I'll drop them probably to, 4-5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm good. You get me 5 solid wins and everybody develops, I'm good to go into next year.
That does sound. It sounds better than what it was last year. I'll tell you that. And were you at camp when the Carl Lawson injury happened? Because I was at home and I just saw the injury pop up on my phone and I couldn't believe it. I said the Jets just can't have nice things because now we were supposed to have this elite defensive line, and then all of a sudden he goes down, and a week later Vinny Curry goes down.
And Jared Davis.
Gerard Davis, yeah.
Yeah, that Green. I wasn't. That was during one of the joint practices in Green Bay. I didn't go out for the practices. I just went for the game. And that was a big blow. But you know what? Maybe Bryce Huff could surprise people. He shows me a lot of potential. I want to see what he could do. And man, if Zuniga could ever get on the field, I'm not holding my breath. But he was a third round pick. You never know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And you know what? With these joint practices, I think the sooner they get to 18 games and the players sign off on it, I think it's good riddance with these preseason games because I think the joint practices are going to replace the preseason games.
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree more because you can't even enjoy the star players now because they're getting injured before the real season even starts. You can't even see your favorite players on the field.
No. And look what McVay did with the Rams. He said right from the beginning.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not playing any starters in any one of the 3 preseason games.
You're right.
So it's like I said, these people I've spoken to and stuff, these teams get more out of these joint practices than they get from the preseason games. And I think that's what the future will be. But the owners will never do it until they figure out a way to make up for the lost revenue. And I think adding that 18th game will make up a big part of that lost revenue.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more with you. Have you met Zach Wilson yet? Because I remember last time I asked you, and they still had the restrictions on meeting players with the fans. Have you had the opportunity yet, or still no, not a chance?
No. With the COVID protocols, you weren't allowed to go near any of the players. So, and it is what it is. I'm just glad to be able to get to games this year. It's a big jump from last year, so I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward, to the trip to Carolina. I'm looking forward to the home opener. And as crazy as this sounds, I think they have a better chance of beating the Patriots at home than they have Carolina on the road.
You may be right.
No, I really do
Yeah.
because it's a better matchup.
Oh, it is.
I mean, nothing against Belichick, but if you just look at the roster, two rookie quarterbacks. Patriot defense is good, of course. Jets. You know, but I think the Jets will be able to stop the Patriots running game. And I hate to get to week two already, but I just I, I think the Jets could upset the Patriots week two. I think it's going to be really tough to beat the Panthers week one.
And especially Sam Darnold, I'm sure he has a chip on his shoulder as long as Robbie Anderson because they just can't stand the Jets. As well as the Seahawks, they're becoming an enemy, a quiet enemy. If they took on Bless Austin and they have Jamal Adams, they're becoming the Seattle Jets over there on the defense.
I know. There's so many players all over the place, but it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and maybe they'll surprise everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great to come home and play the Pats at 1-0. Listen, that's why they play the games. We'll see what happens.
That's right. And, if you look at Zach Wilson, he has shined amongst all the other quarterbacks out of his draft class. So right now it looks like we were right.
Yes, right. And right now it looks like we're right. Hopefully, I'll call you 4 or 5 weeks into the season, and I'll say, you know what, we were definitely right because I expect big things from Zach Wilson. It's just you have to keep it real. He's going to have his down moments. It's part of the learning curve. John Elway went through it. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. You could go on and on and on. But I just think he has a very bright future, and looking forward to the ride.
Yes, I am too. Ira, is there anything else you would love to get out on the show here today? Anything else you would love to tell the audience?
Just get out to MetLife, support the Jets, and enjoy the season, and don't get hung up on this Darnold Wilson matchup this week. I know it's a juicy storyline. We all do it, but talk to me about Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold in 2 years. Don't. If the Panthers beat the Jets and Darnold now plays Wilson, that doesn't mean the Jets made a mistake. In 2 years from now, you'll see which one of these quarterbacks is the better quarterback.
Oh, and I think it's going to be our choice, 100%.
I agree. I agree.
Oh, Ira, I appreciate you calling into the show. You're always welcome. And happy Labor Day. And I want you to enjoy the rest of your night. Okay, man?
Appreciate it. Talk soon, man.
Talk soon, Ira.